When looking at indie games, one of the most striking elements that usually comes to mind is the art style, whether it be a callback to retro games or some abstract surrealism. One example is the 2010 game Limbo, a concept that dated back to 2004 and conceptualized by director Arndt Jensen. He came up with a minimalistic mood and art style first, which he presented as a way of getting help to make the game. He met with producer Dino Patti and they together created the company Playdead. Soon after, they created Limbo with complete creative control and little to no influence from big name companies. It was initially an Xbox 360 exclusive before being released on PlayStation 3, PC, PlayStation Vita, phones, Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and most recently the Nintendo Switch. The footage in this review is from the PC release. The simple premise is outlined in the game's tagline: uncertain of his sister's fate, a boy enters Limbo. At first you wake up, with a button input, in a forest and explore it only to gradually come across a city and more machinery. And that is pretty much all there is to it. There is no text and no dialogue. Much of the story is deliberately left as a riddle to solve, one that is up to interpretation. One could look at the characters, objects and environments and draw their own meaning from them, especially based on different viewpoints about life and death. Elements, such as the forest and the spider, are based on Jensen's life, but other aspects are surely not that obvious. And speaking of Jensen, his focus on atmosphere, style and mood makes for what is probably the most memorable aspect of Limbo. The art style is a monochromatic black and white colour scheme, somewhat inspired by film noir, but it is striking, not just in contrast, but in the uses of shady, almost grainy and often out of focus backgrounds and foregrounds that give off a sense of depth. The animation is also very effective and lifelike. The sound is also very interesting to say the least. There is not a lot of music in the game, which even then is composed in an acousmatic manner. This then allows the sound design to take center stage. Footsteps, machinery and so on are good, but the most effective effects are the distorted electronic ones. The soundscape that consists of little to no music and some haunting sound, whether it be the wind or dripping water, surprisingly makes for an almost horror atmosphere, something a bit different for a platformer game. Side-scroller platforming is what makes up the overall gameplay, with some puzzle solving included. The controls were designed to be accessible and simplistic, and it works. You only move, jump, including climbing, and push or pull objects. And that's it. It's understandable for everyone, but don't let that fool you. Limbo is a challenging game. There is danger everywhere, where the boy can die in a variety of gruesome ways. Again, the animation adds to this. There are traps, gravity and dangerous creatures, including most notably a giant spider. Arachnophobes beware. You will die a lot soon after you start playing. The developers refer to this as a trial and death approach. One of the earliest examples is when you move to the right along the path very casually and leisurely, only for a bear trap to dismember the boy. Ouch! Was this game designed for kids? Examples like this are generally repeated throughout the game, where a trap is not necessarily obvious until it suddenly appears. Some puzzle solutions are not necessarily obvious, which may require you to backtrack a little to find an object you need, such as a box. The variety in puzzle design is also impressive considering the limited controls. However, it is in some of the execution of the gameplay that Limbo sadly lacks in quality. For one thing, the actual jumping in this game tends to be frustrating. The physics in this game have a life of their own and seem somewhat realistic in a way. This gives the boy you control a sense of weight, and this can make jumping hard. It feels like the height in jumping, including running jumps, combined with timing and the ability to grab ledges, ropes, and ladders, relies on pixel-perfect precision. It is fine that this boy doesn't jump as loosely as, say, Mario, but a very slightly increased height in jumping would have actually gone a long way. While the puzzles are generally well designed, at least a few of them are too hard to figure out. Even early on, the lack of text and tutorials may make it unclear what you have to do in terms of using the action button on objects or having to explore outside your screen a little more for the solution. Also, while this is surely a challenging game, it is not a very long one. While you surely will go through many trial and death moments, this game only lasts for about 3 or 4 hours. It doesn't overstay its welcome, but it would have been nice if the game was maybe a little longer, maybe with different difficulty levels, an idea that the developers didn't want to include. There are achievements centered on hidden insect eggs and completing the game in less time with 5 or fewer deaths if you want to. You have to learn the game better than you did the first time if that achievement is to be completed. So, Limbo is overall an interesting game. The aesthetics are striking, the soundscapes make for a haunting atmosphere, and the gameplay, while lacking a little innovation because of its similarities to other platformers, is mostly engaging, with generally well-designed environments and puzzles. But the platforming and puzzles could have been less frustrating, even though the checkpoints, limitless lives, and the aforementioned trial and death approach surely make for the player learning what to do themselves instead of blaming the game design. The short length is also somewhat questionable in regards to pricing, but this game doesn't overstay its welcome. The ending is abrupt though, but that could be up to interpretation. By the end credits, you may have found the experience of playing Limbo unforgettable. The giant spider, the bear traps, the machinery, the striking visuals and sound, all this and more. What does it all mean? What is really happening as the boy is looking for his sister while dying a lot? Perhaps it is better to play or replay Limbo and figure it out for yourself and see why games like this can be considered an art form. Additionally, the simple controls make this game understandable for everyone. Just be prepared for a challenge. Join me tomorrow as I review the company Playdead's next game, Inside. See you there.